I thought I had the perfect life until the morning I opened our daughter's college fund and saw the number 0. I thought I knew what rock bottom felt like. I was wrong. It was a Tuesday morning in late September when my world collapsed. The kind of morning that starts with golden sunlight streaming through kitchen windows and the smell of French roast coffee. Ordinary, safe, predictable. I was reviewing our finances before the girls' college application deadlines, double-checking that everything was in order for Maya and Sophie's future. 17 years. That's how long I'd been building that college fund. 17 years of overtime shifts at the hospital, of saying no to vacations, of driving a 12-year-old Honda while my colleagues upgraded to luxury SUVs. Every birthday, every Christmas bonus, every tax refund, it all went into that account. $427,000, enough for both girls to graduate debt-free from their dream schools. I logged into the account, expecting to see that familiar, beautiful number. Balance, $0,000. If you believe karma always finds its way home, hit like, share this, and subscribe to Formidable Revenge for more true-life revenge stories. My coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattering against the tile floor. The sound seemed to come from very far away. I refreshed the page, checked the account number, refreshed again, still 0. My hands trembled as I grabbed my phone and called the bank. The customer service representative's voice was professionally sympathetic as she confirmed what I already knew but couldn't accept. The account had been drained 3 days ago. A single wire transfer. All funds sent to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. Who authorized this? I whispered. According to our records, your husband, Mr. David Morrison, he's the secondary account holder. He used the correct passwords and security questions. Ma'am, is everything all right? I hung up without answering. David, my husband of 19 years, the man who'd held my hand through 2 difficult pregnancies, who coached the girls' softball team, who kissed me goodbye every morning with a promise to be home for dinner. I called his cell phone, straight to voicemail. I called his office. His assistant, Brenda, sounded confused. David? He requested 2 weeks of personal leave starting yesterday, said it was a family emergency. I assumed you knew? I didn't know. I sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by shards of broken ceramic, and felt something inside me break just as cleanly. When Maya and Sophie came downstairs for breakfast, 17-year-old twins, brilliant and beautiful and full of dreams, I had to tell them that everything they'd worked for was gone. Mom? Maya's face went pale. What do you mean, gone? The college fund. Your father, he took it. All of it. The words tasted like poison. I expected tears, panic, rage. Instead, my daughters exchanged a look I couldn't quite read. Where is he now? Sophie asked, her voice eerily calm. I don't know. He's not answering his phone. He's not at work. He's just vanished. Maya pulled out her laptop. Sophie grabbed her phone. They moved with practiced synchronization, like they'd been preparing for this moment. Mom, Maya said softly, her fingers already flying across her keyboard. We need to talk. What my daughters told me over the next hour shattered what remained of my world, and then began to rebuild it into something harder, sharper, unbreakable. They'd known for months. 3 months earlier, Sophie had borrowed David's laptop when hers crashed during finals. She'd accidentally opened his email, an account I didn't even know existed. What she found there led her down a rabbit hole that would have destroyed most teenagers. Hundreds of emails to a woman named Veronica Cole. Love letters, plans, promises. But it wasn't just an affair. It was a carefully orchestrated escape plan. Maya, who'd been coding since she was 12 and had already received early admission offers from Caltech, had taken Sophie's discovery and run with it. She'd installed monitoring software on David's devices, nothing he'd ever detect. For 3 months, my daughters had been building a case against their own father. They showed me everything. David hadn't just fallen in love with Veronica, a 34-year-old marketing executive he'd met at a conference in Miami. He'd been planning to leave us for over a year. The college fund was just the beginning. He'd taken out a second mortgage on our house, forged my signature with terrifying precision. He'd liquidated his retirement account, paying the penalties. He'd sold stock holdings I didn't even know he had. Total theft. Over $800,000. The plan was simple. Drain everything. Disappear to the Cayman Islands, where Veronica was already waiting. start a new life. He told Veronica that his wife was emotionally distant and his daughters were entitled and ungrateful. He'd painted himself as the victim of a loveless marriage, finally brave enough to choose happiness. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice breaking. Maya's eyes were hard, too hard for a 17-year-old. Because we needed proof. We needed to document everything. And we needed a plan. Operation Phoenix, Sophie added. We've been working on it for 6 weeks. They called it Phoenix because we were going to rise from the ashes of my husband's betrayal. The plan was already in motion. My daughters weren't just smart, they were brilliant, and they'd inherited my capacity for cold, calculated determination when pushed too far. Phase 1 had begun the week before David disappeared. Maya had created a comprehensive dossier of David's crimes, the forged signatures, the unauthorized wire transfers, the hidden accounts. But she hadn't sent it to the police. Not yet. Instead, she'd sent anonymous copies to 3 people. David's boss, Veronica Cole's husband, yes, husband. David didn't know Veronica was married, and a private investigator we'd hired using money from my own separate savings account. The private investigator, a woman named Janet Reeves, with 20 years of experience in corporate fraud, had confirmed what the girls suspected. Veronica was running a long con. She'd done this before, twice, found successful middle-aged men in vulnerable marriages, seduced them, convinced them to liquidate their assets, and then disappeared with the money while leaving them to face the consequences. David wasn't her partner. He was her mark. Phase 2 involved something even more cunning. Sophie had discovered Veronica's real identity, Victoria Castellano, a woman wanted in 3 states for financial fraud. She'd been using fake names and fake credentials for years. The Cayman Islands account wasn't a romantic getaway fund. It was Veronica's exit strategy. Maya had hacked into the Cayman account. Highly illegal, she admitted, but desperate times, Mom. And discovered that Veronica had already begun moving the money to yet another account. In 3 days, she'd have transferred everything to an untraceable cryptocurrency wallet and vanished. David had no idea he was being robbed by the woman he was robbing us for. "So what do we do?" I asked, feeling like I'd stumbled into a crime thriller. "We wait for the call," Maya said. "What call?" Sophie smiled, the first real smile I'd seen from her in months. "The call from Dad when he realizes he's lost everything." The next 3 days were the longest of my life. We didn't hear from David, not a text, not an email, not a word. It was like he'd ceased to exist. I filed a police report, but with evidence of the wire transfer and his voluntary leave from work, they couldn't classify him as missing. He'd left of his own accord. I should have been devastated. Instead, I felt numb, and beneath the numbness, a growing cold fury. Janet Reeves called with updates twice a day. David had arrived in the Cayman Islands as planned. He'd checked into a luxury resort. He'd met with Veronica. They'd celebrated with champagne and lobster at a beachfront restaurant, laughing and taking selfies like newlyweds. Then everything fell apart for him. First, Veronica's husband, a wealthy real estate developer named Marcus Cole, showed up at the resort. There was a scene. Hotel security was called. Marcus confronted Veronica publicly, showed her photos of David, threatened legal action. Veronica, caught, played the victim, claimed David had seduced her, manipulated her, tricked her into helping him steal from his family. David was escorted from the resort by police for questioning. When they released him hours later, he returned to find Veronica gone, checked out, no forwarding address. And when he checked the Cayman account, the account that was supposed to contain his future, his freedom, his new life, it was empty. Veronica had transferred everything, every single dollar, gone. Janet sent us security footage of David at an internet cafe, frantically trying to access the account, his face contorting between confusion, disbelief, and dawning horror. Watching my husband realize he'd been betrayed exactly as he'd betrayed us gave me a dark satisfaction I'm not proud of. But that wasn't the end. David's boss received the anonymous dossier. The company launched an internal investigation and discovered David had been embezzling small amounts from client accounts for years. Nothing Maya and Sophie had known about, but something the forensic accountants found once they started digging. David was fired immediately and faced criminal charges. He'd lost his mistress, his money, his job, and his reputation. All that remained was for him to realize he'd also lost his family. The call came at 11:47 p.m. on Friday night. The three of us were in the living room, me on the couch, the girls on the floor surrounded by college brochures they were determinedly reviewing, despite everything. We'd spent the evening talking about their applications, about their futures, pretending that normalcy was possible. When my phone rang with David's number, we all froze. I answered on speaker. Erica. His voice was wrecked, hoarse, desperate, trembling. Erica, please, I need help. I said nothing, waited. Everything's gone. The money, Veronica, my job, everything. I've been scammed. Some woman pretending to be... She took everything from me, from us. I need you to wire me money, just enough for a plane ticket home. Please, I have nothing. Still, I said nothing. Erica, are you there? Please. I know I made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but I'm still your husband. I'm still the girl's father. You can't just abandon me. Maya leaned forward, her voice cutting through the phone like ice. Hi, Dad. Silence, then. Maya? Yeah, me and Sophie. We're all here. And Mom's not wiring you anything. Sweetheart, this is between your mother and me. Adult business. Sophie laughed, sharp and bitter. Adult business? Is that what you call stealing our college fund? Forging Mom's signature? Planning to abandon your family? You don't understand. Veronica, we understand perfectly, I interrupted, finding my voice. We understand that you stole $800,000 from your own family, that you planned this for over a year, that you called your daughters ungrateful while drinking champagne on a beach with another woman. We know everything, David. Every email, every transaction, every lie. The silence stretched out. When he spoke again, his voice had changed, harder, uglier. You went through my private accounts? That's a violation of what? Maya cut him off. Your privacy? You violated our trust, our security, our future. Don't talk to us about violations. I want to come home, David said. We can work through this. I'll pay everything back, just give me another chance. This was the moment, the final call that would change everything. I looked at my daughters, these fierce, brilliant young women who'd spent 3 months protecting me while I'd been blind to the truth, who'd built a case, executed a plan, and delivered justice while I'd been sleepwalking through my marriage. No, I said simply. What? No, you're not coming home. You're not getting another chance. You made your choice, David. You chose Veronica over us. You chose money over your daughter's futures, and now you're living with those consequences. Erica, I'm stranded here. I have no money, no credit cards. No, you should have thought of that before you drained our daughter's college fund. Don't do this, please. I'm begging you. And that's when Sophie delivered the final blow. You're not stranded, Dad. You have exactly $3,247.83 in your checking account. We left you that much. It's enough for a plane ticket, a security deposit on a cheap apartment, and 2 weeks of groceries. That's more than you left us with. How do you? Because we put it there, Maya said. After we transferred the $427,000 back from Veronica's account before she could move it, along with the $180,000 from the house mortgage you took out and the $193,000 from your retirement fund. We got it all back, Dad. Every penny. I stared at my daughters in shock. They hadn't told me this part. That's impossible. That money was in the Cayman account. Veronica already moved it to a cryptocurrency wallet that I created, Maya said calmly, using a back door I planted 3 weeks ago. Veronica thought she was stealing from you. She was actually transferring everything exactly where I wanted it. I moved it all back to our accounts yesterday, with interest. The sound David made was inhuman, somewhere between a sob and a scream. "You can't do this. I'll sue. I'll press charges. That's theft." That's exactly what you did to us," I said. "The difference is we have evidence of your crimes, all of them, including the embezzlement your former employer just discovered. So here's what's going to happen." I pulled out the envelope Janet Reeves had delivered that afternoon. "You're going to sign divorce papers that give me full custody, the house and every remaining asset. You're going to accept full responsibility for the embezzlement and make restitution to your former employer, and you're going to disappear from our lives." "And if I don't, then we send everything to the police," Sophie said. "The forged signatures, the unauthorized transfers, the embezzlement. You'll be arrested the moment you land in the U.S. You'll go to prison for years, Dad. Your choice." "You're bluffing. Try us," Maya said. The silence that followed was the sound of my husband realizing he'd been outplayed by his own children. "I loved you," he whispered finally. "All of you. I wanted to be happy." "You wanted to be selfish," I corrected. "There's a difference." "What happened to you, Erica? You used to be kind, forgiving." "You happened, David. You stole my kindness and my forgiveness, along with everything else, but you didn't count on our daughters being smarter than both of us combined." "How do I sign the papers?" Janet had already arranged everything. David would sign electronically, with witnesses present. The divorce would be finalized in 60 days. He would cooperate with the embezzlement investigation in exchange for a reduced sentence, and he would never contact us again. "One last thing," I said. "Your final call changed everything, but not the way you hoped. You called expecting rescue. Instead, you got justice. Remember that, David. Remember that your daughters were the ones who brought you down." I hung up. 6 months later, Maya and Sophie graduated as co-valedictorians. The college fund was restored, actually larger than before, thanks to Maya's strategic cryptocurrency trading while transferring the money back. Maya accepted her place at Caltech with a full scholarship. Sophie chose MIT, also with a full scholarship. My brilliant daughters had options now. The house was ours, mortgage-free. David's restitution payments to his former employer didn't touch our assets. Janet had made sure of that. He was living in a studio apartment in Ohio, working as a night manager at a warehouse, paying back his debts one paycheck at a time. I'd been promoted to head nurse at the hospital. I'd also started seeing a therapist, working through the betrayal, the anger, the grief. It was slow, but I was healing. The girls launched a blog called Phoenix Protocol, advice for teens dealing with divorce, family betrayal, financial fraud. It went viral within weeks. They'd turned their trauma into advocacy, their pain into purpose. On graduation day, watching my daughters cross that stage in their caps and gowns, I thought about David's final call. He'd been right about one thing. It changed everything. It changed because it was the moment I stopped being a victim and became a survivor. It changed because my daughters showed me what strength looked like. Not the loud, obvious kind, but the quiet, calculated, devastating kind. It changed because I learned that sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones who teach you how powerful you really are. That night, the three of us celebrated at their favorite restaurant. We toasted to new beginnings, to justice, to futures that were brighter because we'd fought for them. "To Phoenix," Maya said, raising her glass. "To Phoenix," Sophie echoed. "To us," I added. "To rising from the ashes." We clinked glasses, water for them, wine for me, and laughed. Real laughter, the kind that comes from surviving something dark and coming out on the other side. David had tried to burn our lives down to build his own. Instead, we'd risen from those flames, stronger, smarter, and unbreakable. That was the real change. That was everything.